Hello, hello. Happy live. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully, you guys have been having a great start to your 2022 so far. My selfie stick just like dropped a foot if you didn't obviously notice that. So just disregard that. Hi, Laura. How are you? Hi, Christina. Luckily, nobody was on when the stick just dropped, but if somebody starts to watch it from the beginning, they will see that. I finally took down my Christmas tree, but now it's really dark in here. I am going to do my normal that I do on Wednesdays, which is answer your guys' questions that have come in throughout the week. If you want to or ask any other ones, just feel to write it in the chat, and I will get to as many as I can. Otherwise, I will just go through some that have come in, as well as I'm going to go over the real estate update, some local, some across Canada, etc. And I'll also do some happy news, okay? Hi, Adria, how are you? So first we're going to start with a question, okay? So the first question comes from Chris in Barrie, and Chris in Barrie said, if Barrie has such high rents, how is anyone supposed to save to be able to buy an already overly priced home? Thank you, Chris, for asking. So yes, Barrie has high rents. I'm actually going to talk about some rents later. And yes, we do have high priced homes, which have gone up a bunch, from last year to this year. And sorry, my dog is beside me / behind me on the couch. And so rents, yes, are high. So what I would say is, let's just say, for example, you have a 1-bedroom apartment. You could have a 2 or a 3-bedroom, and you could split it with some friends, or you could just rent a room somewhere or something like that. It's just when you have a whole space to yourself that obviously it costs more money. Maybe you could be in, a basement apartment instead of an upper unit. Maybe you could have your utilities included instead of, say, for example, I know somebody and they live somewhere where they have to pay utilities and it's baseboard heat, which gets a little bit pricey in the winter. So I would just do that. So renting a room as well as renting a place and then sharing it with a bunch of friends is basically a similar price. But if you live on your own and renting, it's going to be hard to save because your price every month is pretty high. So that is what I would do if you can move a little bit out of town and get cheaper somewhere else. But obviously not everybody likes to commute. But maybe you're working from home, so maybe that's an option for you. Hi, Gail. Happy Wednesday. Thanks for popping in. Okay. So the first happy news I'm going to do is that building a bus shelter has never been so kind. So there was basically a 5-year-old little boy, and he has spina bifida, and he is in kindergarten. He's been in a wheelchair since he's since he was 2, and he will wait at the end of his driveway for sometimes 15 minutes because the bus is sometimes late. So there were teenagers, obviously he's only 5, so he doesn't go to high school, but there were teenagers at a local high school, and they decided to use like all their shop skills that they learned in school to build him a bus shelter. So he not only goes in it, before school, and his nurses wait for him after school in it, but he even goes in it on the weekends, and he calls it his little fort. So I just thought that was cool because obviously lots of places they talk about bullying and that kind of thing, and obviously this was no bullying. It was just a bunch of kids helping out another child. So I just like that was cute. And that was in Rhode Island, by the way. So the next question comes from Tammy and Jay in Aurelia. So Tammy and Jay said, we're looking at buying a triplex and living there with my twin sister and renting the 3rd unit out. We heard that you have to pay HST on the property. Is that true? Thank you, Tammy and Jay, for asking. So yeah, because it's a commercial property, there will be HST on that. Same with new builds and same with vacant land. Now, the thing about that is a lot of new builders, they have it built into their price. So let's just say you see a price of $859, they probably have it built into the price already. And also with commercial properties like a triplex or like a store downstairs with apartments upstairs, etc., there's things through the lawyer, and you can sign a thing saying that you didn't pay HST, and the person can sign a thing saying they didn't receive it. And basically, they can do it all with accounting wise, but just check with your lawyer, because I've done that quite a few times as well as our clients. So there is ways to get around it, but just double check, because normally the 3 things again for HST are vacant land, new builds, and commercial property. But again, there's ways around it, and most new builds build it into their pricing. So the next thing is that drones can now save lives. Not officially the drones, but so lots of times, like when people have a heart attack, they have less than 10 minutes to get to hospital. Sometimes they only have seconds, etc. And usually, obviously, the ambulances take longer than that and so forth. So there was a man in Sweden, and he had a drone company, and he decided to, match up with somebody that had what are they called? Defibrillators? I think that's what they're called. Yeah, defibrillators. That's, I don't know if I'm saying right. And so he matched up with him, and now they are able to service more than 200,000 people in Sweden. So they just saved the first person's life the other day. It was a 71-year-old, and he was doing his snow removal in his driveway, and somebody called. Their thing's not 911, it's like 211 or something like that, 121, or I forget what it's called. And then they sent this drone thing over with a defibrillator, and it was there in 3 minutes, and he is now alive. So I just like that, obviously, because happy news for that fellow. And they are going to spread into Europe, and then I'm guessing eventually they do Canada and the States, I don't know, but they're going to do the rest of Europe first. The next question comes from Janet in Midland. So Janet, hi Jason, how are you? Janet in Midland said, I rent out my house in the summer and stay with my boyfriend. I know you deal with waterfront properties. Do you think there's a market to rent for more than just the summer when you're on a lake? Thank you, Janet, or Jeanette, sorry, for asking. I absolutely do. So, for example, there's these two cool girls. They have like a Netflix series, and it's like Motel Makeover or something, and they have June Motel. But what I've never understood is that they just do it, in the summer, and there is year-round for short-term rental on water and even not on water. So obviously, let's just say you're on water, and let's just say you're getting $4,000 a week, for example. You're obviously not going to get $4,000 a week in the winter. You might get $1,250 a week, but you're not going to get like $100 and it's not even worth it to pay your utilities, and you might as well winterize the cottage. It will absolutely be worth it. So there is a market, and sometimes people have asked me, like, what are the people going there for? And sometimes they're going just a getaway. It's their anniversary. Sometimes they're doing a gender baby reveal. Sometimes it's a girls' weekend. Sometimes it's like somebody's, I don't know, their mom's birthday and they just want to take them. There's always people, and in the end, it really doesn't matter to me as long as they stay there. But my first year ever having a waterfront rental, somebody just said, hey, I'll rent it, for the winter for X amount. I think it was $1,200 a month or something. And I was like, it's better than nothing. But then I realized the next year I got more than that in a weekend, let alone the whole month in the winter. So I absolutely would rent out your place if you want to move in full time with your boyfriend or something like that. I think that's a great option for you. So thank you for asking. So one more thing before real estate is that color and paint saved a neighborhood. So there's a man 14 years ago, and he was in Taiwan, and basically he got word that his his community, neighborhood, etc. was going to be bulldozed and leveled, and he started to paint everywhere in it. So he'd paint on the sidewalks, he'd paint on the walls, he'd paint everywhere he could, and made beautiful, obviously it wasn't ugly painting, he made beautiful murals everywhere, and they ended up not tearing it down. Again, that was 14 years ago. So he still lives there to this day. They call him Grandpa Rainbow, and now it's voted the #1 Instagrammable spot in Taiwan, and actually tons of people go there tourist-wise. And they also called it on Lonely Planet the secret marvel of the world. So I just like that somebody's paintbrush and, they're wanting to stay in their community and make it prettier and better and what have you, ended up being this famous spot for this grandpa who still lives there and again is 98 just from, his zest for life. So I like that. So I think I'm done with that. Now I'm into real estate. Yes, so going to real estate again, if you guys want to ask any questions, feel free to write it in the chat. Otherwise, I will just blab on, okay? All right, so Doug Ford talked about a housing summit, and so basically what he wants to do is have more ways for families to be able to afford homes. Hi, Tiff, how are you? So that's what he wants to do, and he wants to find extra funding basically to cut through the red tape, which just means instead of an approval taking, say, 18 months or 3 months or 5 years or 10 years, etc., to say do some new building, etc., that it's much faster. So how much they're allotting is $45 million, which is going to go to 39 communities. They have not said which the 39 communities are, but basically they just want the housing application process to be quicker, okay? So that is what they're doing. The problem with that is how long is that going to take? I have no idea. Is he still, is the next person, going to do it? And obviously everything with politics and so forth, we don't know. But that is what he's saying that he wants to do is 45 million to 39 communities. Again, they have not said what the 39 communities are. So lots of people, I'd say probably 20 a week, ask me if the market this year is going to be as crazy as last year. and it is going to still be a crazy market. We had clients the other day offer on a townhome on Trevino Circle. So they offered $753. It was listed for $629. They did not get it. It sold $785. So for a townhome, sold $785, unfinished basement, and it was original everything. It's not like they had renovated the kitchen or whatever. It wasn't an end unit. And again, it was $785. So the market is not getting any easier in that aspect. And speaking of, actually, there was another townhome and the people bought it for $499. It was in, or not was, it is in Letitia Heights. And so $499 last year. They have not even had it for a full year, and they just sold it for $685. So $499 to $685 in like 8 months. It's crazy. And so speaking of inventory, now whether this was because of winter and the snow and the holidays in December, but the amount of homes that began building in December compared to November was down nationwide 22% last month. Again, I don't know if it was because of Christmas or what have you. Hi, Margie, how are you? But it is down 22%, which we already have no inventory and lots of demand, so that's not going to help things. So the economists are basically all saying that affordability is going to get a lot worse before it gets better. There's obviously no timeline of when it'll get better and how much better will it get and will it ever get better. But that's basically what they can all agree upon. So the average home in Canada in January is already over $713,000, which is up over 18% over December's average. So obviously the year is already off to a great start or an annoying start, depending if you're a first-time buyer, then you'll say it's an annoying start. And there was an analysis last week that said basically Ontario needs 650,000 new homes to even like get anywhere close to what we need, not counting the more than 400,000 people they want to bring new to the country every year, but that is what they said, 650,000, just to help with the gap between the amount of people renting compared to how many homes there are, etc. And economists say if they don't build like massive amounts of homes like that, like 600,000, 700,000, etc., that Ontario's pricing will never come down and not to say flatline, but will never stabilize. So that is what they're saying. And so I said earlier that there was 22% less new builds in December, and that was for freehold homes. And for townhomes, there was less than 29% new builds, as well as they actually grouped the condos as well as multiplexes. So if it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 units, etc., for some reason they put it with condos. So that was 29% less built in December compared to November. So last year in Canada, there were over 667,000 people or families that moved into properties, whether they moved from one they already had to somewhere else, or they just bought for the first time. It did not divide that, but over 667,000, which is basically 30% higher than the last 10 years average as a whole. So obviously lots of people moving and grooving with COVID. So as people know, obviously there's not a lot of inventory and so forth and nothing to choose from. The problem with that is people are like, okay, there's no inventory, and then they're like, okay, I'm not going to list right now because there's nothing to choose from, which just like snowballs the effect, and then there's even more no inventory. There's lots of other reasons as well, but that's one of many. So again, sometimes I do like local statistics, sometimes I do farther away. So in GTA, so I'm going a little bit south, the average is now over 1.1 million for the properties in January so far, which is up over 24% from last year's 932,000. And Vancouver's average is already over 1.2, up from their 1.1, which is up over 15%. Newfoundland, they're up 11%. New Brunswick's just over 30%. Montreal's 21% up. Quebec is 10% up. And I was actually surprised the average price in Quebec is $303,700, which I didn't know it was so cheap there. Hi, Romy. How are you? Thank you for popping in. Hope you're having a great week so far. So for those that listened last week, you know that prices are still going to rise this year. They are just thinking because of the interest rate to go up in the fall, that so say last year, you know, it went up crazy like this. They don't think it'll go up as crazy. It might just go up like this, but still goes up. Not like this, not like this, still up, just maybe not as crazy, okay? So that is what is expected. So not as crazy as 2020 to 2021 because of the interest rate going up at the end of the year, okay? Okay. So before I was saying, Ontario pricing and so forth, but Ontario actually has the least amount of inventory of any province or territory in Canada, which I would have thought BC just because they always have higher average prices than us. But Ontario is worse than BC. And then number 2 and number 3 with least inventory was still not BC. It was Alberta and Manitoba, which I was surprised that BC was not even on the top 3. So Ontario, like I said, needs 650,000 homes to even balance out a little bit. Alberta needs 138,000 homes, and Manitoba needs 23,000 homes to be built. So Ontario needs more than 3 times the highest, which is Alberta's 138. We need more than 3 times the amount that they need built just to kind of be at a level playing field with the amount of people per capita, etc. And again, this isn't counting the more than 400,000 people that are going to be coming every year to Canada, and obviously majority come to Ontario and BC. So I've mentioned before, but I know not everybody watches all the lives, and I don't expect them to. But, when we look at the G7 countries, so France, Germany, Italy, the UK, USA, Japan, I think I got them all. We have the lowest amount of inventory out of all of those places. So not only do we need 650,000 just like per capita to make more sense, but if we want to even be with the average of all of those other countries, we need 1.8 million homes just to be in their average. So the amount of people that Ontario has, everybody else has like way more homes than we do for the amount of people, which is crazy to think 1.8 million homes just to be the average of the other G7 nations. So that is crazy. There is this one economist, his name's Jean-Francois Perrault, I don't know how you say that properly, and he said, although it's great to have more Canadians and immigration, etc., it's a super challenging situation in the real estate world because we already do not have any inventory and too many buyers. So that is what he said, because obviously as they want to make homes more affordable for people and more people able to buy, there's still no homes for them to buy, right? So already no homes for people to buy. So if you add more buyers to that mix and no homes for those people to buy, then that is not going to help. Do you know where the most housing per capita is in Canada? I did not know. It's Newfoundland. So for the amount of people they have and the amount of houses, it makes a lot more sense out there than Ontario. So if you guys wanted to visit there, I've never been there. So Barrie has always obviously been up and down with rents. Sometimes we're the first highest, sometimes we're second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, etc. But the new highest right now is Vancouver. So Vancouver has already gone up 13.2% over last year. So their 1 bedroom is now $2,176 per month. Toronto is in second place right now with $2,013 per month. And the average across Canada, so not for a 1 bedroom, but just in total for a rental, the average person paid $1,789 in 2021 for their rental home or apartment. There is a place in BC, I don't know how to say it properly, Kukatalam, something like that. Never heard of it. I don't know. They actually went down 8.07% for their rentals. And surprisingly, Victoria, BC did as well, but only 0.63%, whereas obviously everybody else has gone up. Not everybody, but a lot of people have gone up. A lot of towns and cities. So this is like a random thing, but we often refer people to mortgage brokers or appraisers or contractors, etc. And I'm glad we never referred anybody to a real estate lawyer in Mississauga, because there is a lawyer there who there's a warrant for his arrest because he has taken almost $8 million from clients. So basically, as funds go back and forth, like, oh, we sold our house, we bought a house, here's the funds for our next house, and he's just like disappeared with this $7 million. I don't know how long it took him to have that amount, but he's gone. So good thing we didn't refer anybody to Mississauga. So the top 3 renovations that people have either done in 2022 already or plan on doing, I don't know if you guys would guess, but the first one is kitchens, the second one is painting, and the third one is bathrooms. So kitchens and bathrooms I thought would be kind of higher than painting, but obviously that kind of makes sense because painting is cheaper. So that squeaked in above bathroom renos was painting. So prices, if we look across Canada, what we're averaging and what's up, etc. So Yukon is now averaging at $542, which is up over 18%. Northwest Territories is averaging 360, which is down 2.3%. BC is averaging 963, up 18.7%. Alberta 426, up 3.9%. Saskatchewan averaging 284, super cheap, up 4.6%. And New Brunswick also super cheap, averaging 267. Again, this is 1,000. I don't do like 267,413 because it's just a lot easier to say 267. Hi, Margie. How are you? Hope you're having a great evening. So New Brunswick was up 32%. Nova Scotia averages 365,000, up 20.5%. Manitoba is now averaging 346,000, up 9.4%. Ontario is averaging 912,000, up 22.9%. Quebec's averaging 470. I didn't know, like obviously being right next door to Ontario, that their price was almost half of ours, so 470, but they're up 16.5%. Newfoundland is, I said that was up 16.5, yeah I did. Newfoundland's averaging 322, which is up 10.1%. And do not ask me why, but I cannot find any stats on none of it. So if anybody can find any stats on none of it, tell me, because I cannot. Okay, so next question comes from Michelle in Holland Landing. Michelle said, I sold my home with my ex in 2016 and I'm kicking myself now. I wish I had just bought him out. Oh well. Any pointers on getting back into the market? Thank you, Michelle, for asking. So kind of like that other guy said before, so maybe you're living somewhere where you could live cheaper, maybe you could have a cheaper car, etc. But also maybe you could just get in with a B lender or something. So with banks, there's A lenders, B lenders, and private. So A lenders are like banks that you can drive by on the street. So you're driving by Royal Bank, you're driving by TD, Scotia, etc. Those are A lenders. They obviously have lower rates. Then there's B lenders. They're, let's just say an A lender right now is 1.5 to 2.5. A B lender is going to be more between like 4 and 5%, and then a private's going to be anywhere from 8 to 12. So obviously 8 to 12 hurts a bit, but let's just say you're in a B lender in that 4 to 5 range. So say you can't get a mortgage right now with an A lender. So for example, that townhome I said earlier that they bought for $499 last year and they just sold it for $680. So most people obviously don't make $180,000 in a year, and even if they do, they don't save it all. They have car payments and rent and so forth. They go on trips or they buy dinners out or all of the above. So even if they do make 180, which obviously is incredibly unlikely, they probably do not save it. But if if you had, for example, bought that house for $499 but paid that higher interest rate of between 4 and 5, and then you had that equity, so basically to get your foot in the door first, so if you could get a B lender, I would just suggest doing that, because the amount that the homes are going up is going to be incredibly hard, basically impossible for you to save. So if you can just get in there and let the house save for you, even though, yeah, you might pay, I don't know, depending on the interest rate, but let's just say $180 or $230 more a month than somebody with an A lender, but you're still in there and you still get that equity is awesome. And let's just say it is that, I keep using that townhome as an example. It was a 3-bedroom, you could rent out the 2 bedrooms, or say it had a finished basement, you could rent out the basement, etc. So you could be in there, you could be getting the equity, plus you could get people to help pay your mortgage, etc. So I would just try and get in, even if it was a B lender. I know people don't like the idea of the higher rates, but that is what I would do. Okay. Thank you for asking though. Okay. So the next thing I was just going to say is the power of social media and giving back. So there's a fellow in New Jersey and he works at his parents' motel and he like posts these funny videos on TikTok or what have you. And he ended up with COVID saying like, hey, we will have free stays at our motel regardless, no questions asked. If you need a place to stay, come stay here. And basically people that follow him on TikTok started to send him, here's money to cover the rooms, here's blankets, here's clothes, here's personal, hygienic products for the people and so forth. And so he basically just got tons of stuff from the audience. And so when his parents first bought the motel, it had like a 1.4-star review, and currently it's 3.5. So he said it's not perfect, but he likes it to be like the light at the end of some people's tunnel when they think they have nowhere left to go, nowhere left to sleep, etc. And the name of his parents' hotel is Lincoln Tunnel, which kind of sounds like light at the end of the tunnel. Still got the word tunnel in it. So he's just trying to help people obviously have a warm place to sleep, and then his audience has been helping him with that as well. So I just like paying it forward. Like that. The next question comes from Jordan and Stainer. So Jordan and Stainer said, my wife and I are always arguing about our house. She wants everything new and remodeled. I think the house is a money pit and we should just move. How can we know what to do? Thank you, Jordan, for asking. So obviously without like doing an analysis on your home, it's hard for me to say, but you could have, myself or a local realtor, or if you have a friend that's a realtor, etc., do it for you. So let's just say, for example, you needed new windows, you had them priced out, and then your realtor, whoever it is, can say, hey, this is the price of your home right now, and this is the price of your home with the windows. If it makes sense, it makes sense. Kind of like on Love It or List It or whatever. They're like, this is the price of your home, and now we did all these things, and now this is the price, and what have you. So just to see what makes sense, because if your home is, say, for example, currently worth $600, and your wife wants to do $150,000 worth of work, and it's only going to be worth $630 in the end, it does not make sense. But if it makes sense, it makes sense. But it's really hard for me to say without knowing your property and so forth. Like, people like visually, so they like to see the kitchens, they like to see the bathrooms, they like to see the floors, and they like to ask, when was the furnace done? When were the windows done? When was the roof done, etc. If you added like a whole bunch of spray foam insulation in the attic, although it's great for utility bills, people can't see it, so they don't really care as much. Do you know what I mean? Like, the things that they can't see, they don't really care. So if you spend like $12,000, $18,000, whatever, doing these things they can't see, whereas you could have, put money in your kitchen or in bathrooms or in flooring, etc., that's a better bet for you. So it depends. Sorry that that's kind of a general answer, but it's best I can do for you without knowing your property more specifically. So thank you for asking. And so we obviously all know bricks, but do you know what is 5 to 7 times stronger than bricks? So there's a lady in Kenya, and she basically figured it out. So somehow with plastics, basically garbage and so forth, that was, piling up and such, she somehow figured it out, mixing it with sand, and now she has actual bricks that are, again, 5 to 7 times as strong as a brick. So she has this whole company, and they build homes, they do like interlocking with them, etc. Obviously it's better for the environment because it's getting all of the plastics out of the neighborhoods, out of the cities and so forth, and then it's stronger for builds, so the homes are lasting longer, the interlocking, etc., pathways are lasting longer, etc. And this is all from a lady in Kenya. She said instead of, sitting on the sidelines and complaining about it, all the plastic, she wanted to do something about it. So I think that is cool of that lady in Kenya. Hi, Janice, how are you? I don't recognize everybody's bubble, but I say hi when I do. So Kyle from New Lowell is the next question. So Kyle from New Lowell says, I want to add a detached shop to our property, but my wife would rather add a pool. What do you think would add more value down the road? They will both cost us around the same. Thank you, Kyle, for asking. So in COVID, to be honest, pools have skyrocketed. I forget what it is, but I've said in the previous live, like, let's just say it was 167%. I don't remember what it was, but I had said it before. But pools have gone up tons since COVID, and because they often take like 2 years to even get one or whatever, so if you could get one, then it obviously puts you in the driver's seat if you did sell in the near future. If you're selling 10 years from now, I'm not sure how popular they're going to be, if they're still going to have the same, draw value that they currently do. But right now there's a real, staycation aspect. So like having nice backyards, hot tubs, pools, saunas, etc. Just because more people are spending a lot of time at home as opposed to traveling, abroad, taking a plane down to Florida or wherever they're going, and they're just staying home. So I would pick the pool over the shop. Sorry to do that to you. But there's also, I've heard of some pool companies that do financing. So maybe you could finance the pool and just have a small monthly payment and then do the shop as well. So maybe it might be win-win. You could do both. But if it was just one, I would just pick the pool. Okay, thank you for asking. Okay, so the next thing is acts of kindness every day. So there is a fellow, he's 18, and he has like physical and learning disabilities, and at the beginning of COVID, he wanted to give his iPad to somebody who couldn't, talk to other people, basically, had no way to talk to his family and so forth, but his mom said, instead of that, let's just do acts of kindness. So he started to do all these little things every day, which eventually grew into bigger ones, and now he's started different organizations for children with disabilities and so forth. He's done food drives, he's done clothing drives, he's done toy drives, etc. I don't know, obviously we're not in England, so I don't know what the Duchess of Cambridge means, really. I don't know if that's like a queen or what that means, or I don't know what it is, but she's acknowledged him as well as their prime minister, and he's saved. I can't even think of it when you get it all donated to you. I can't think of the proper word. But he's got, tens of thousands of dollars multiple times. He's ran 2 marathons, but instead of like running the marathon to see how fast he is, he actually has roses and he like hands them out to people and he like tells them what a good job they're doing and whatever. So it's just super cute. When he was born, he had some chromosomal, deficiency, and they said that he wouldn't be able to walk or talk or communicate. And now he's making people's, lives across England better and making them smile, etc. And he even won a World Compassion Award, and he has his own kindness foundation now in his name, which I thought was super cute. So anyways, that is it from me. I hope you guys are all relentless, you are unapologetically yourself, and you don't stop going after your dreams. Have a great night.